So that's point number one. Now, for Nnamdi Kanu, I've seen a number of people, with the judgment yesterday. Some celebrate the judgment, others they're not happy about it. And we've seen the comments of people from different regions of the country. And then I also saw the comments of Cubana chief priest, where he condemned the sentencing and appealed to the Tinubu administration to essentially free Nnamdi Kanu. Now, one thing you must note is that it's not all about Nnamdi Kanu. It's about what he represents. It's not about who Nnamdi Kanu is or what he did. If you focus on Nnamdi Kanu, if you focus on his personality, and focus on his outbursts, and focus on his attributes that border on some what you can classify as some personality, maybe you call it narcissistic, personality and other. If you focus on that, which you can talk about it, but if you focus solely on that, you're going to miss the point. It's not all about him or what he did or what he didn't do. It's about what he represents. Nnamdi Kanu, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was fighting for had Radio Biafra and was fighting for Biafra, and then what that represents is people who felt they were being marginalized, people who felt that they were not being represented, in the government, and I felt that the only way they could fight for better representation is to fight for the cause of Biafra. And that 2015 was a very interesting year, because that was when Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was defeated in the election, incumbent president, and the Southeast largely voted for Goodluck Jonathan, the then president. And Goodluck Jonathan lost. President Muhammadu Buhari now came into power. Buhari felt he didn't get support from the Southeast. And so he made his appointment based more on where he got support from. Buhari's base is in the north, CPC. And the CPC formed an alliance with AC from the southwest. And they formed APC. And they won. So Buhari's appointment were skewed towards the CPC, towards the northern region, and towards the southwest. The southeast felt abandoned. Now, you must note that when it comes to Nigeria, sometimes think of Obasanjo. When Obasanjo became president in 1999, it wasn't really because he had a lot of support from the southwest, which is his region. It was more of a pan-Nigerian support that Obasanjo had. And then when he now became president, he made it, his appointments were pan-Nigerian. He made his appointments such that it reflected Nigeria, and he brought in the best of the best. Obasanjo did not do, okay, let me marginalize, or okay, let me appoint people from a certain region. No. Now, Buhari came in 2015, and I was acutely aware of this, because Buhari is somebody that, I was really following up the events in 2015. Buhari had a lot of promise, anti-corruption, a general who could fight insecurity, and all that. There was a lot of promise. And then When he came in, I was watching out for his appointments. Buhari's appointments were skewed towards certain regions. And it was obvious that the Southeast was not being represented in his appointment, except the statutory ministerial position where you have to pick a ministerial appointment from 36 states. And then Buhari reduced the number of ministries. And such, even that one now became something that wasn't really there, you understand, because the number of ministries were reduced and all of that. But there was this sense, you could sense it, that the Southeast was being overlooked in key appointments. And you had a situation whereby leaders of the Southeast were quite worried. Now, the point is that Nigeria is such that Nigeria is a huge country, and Nigeria has these, you know, provisions whereby when you are making employment federal character, you have this federal character thing that if you're a federal institution, you're making employment, you're employing people, it has to reflect federal character. You cannot employ people only from a certain region. The federal character provisions in the constitution or the rules is such that the appointment has to be from, the employment has to be from different parts of the country. And so even if a certain region didn't vote for you as president, you're supposed to, your appointment, it has to reflect federal character. It has to reflect the diversity and the, Nigeria is a very big place. And so your appointments should reflect that. You make appointment from different parts. There are brilliant, very qualified Nigerians from all parts of Nigeria. And so if you are really looking out to make appointments of people that are very qualified from all the parts of Nigeria, you will find them. And so there was no need to focus appointment on one region based on the pattern of the votes. There was no need for that. But what was happening in that 2015 was that the appointments were skewed. So you had this sense among politicians, political leaders from the Southeast, that they were being left out. So you now had Nnamdi Kanu being arrested towards the later part of 2015. And so the people who have been complaining that the government of Buhari was, was making appointments favoring certain parts of the country, now saw the, when the news of Nnamdi Kanu's arrest came out, people were agitating for his release. So you have leaders from the Southeast that were supporting that cause. They're supporting the cause for the release of the cry, they joined that, bandwagon of people that were agitating for Nnamdi Kanu's release, agitating for the cause in which Nnamdi Kanu represents. And so you have that situation whereby people supported Nnamdi Kanu, political leaders from the Southeast, because they saw that as a way to express their grievance about the appointments and the way the Buhari administration was going. So the cause of Nnamdi Kanu now represented something. It now represented a cause to fight for marginalization, to fight for poor representation, to fight, it was not just now about him. It's about what that represented, And so when his incarceration, they said, there was a time they said he has been released. Later it was found he was not released. They said, some reports said it was a ploy that was used by security agencies to calm people down by saying he has been released so that people will calm down. People now later found out that he was not released, So is what he represents. And people have used that to fight for causes relating to what he represents. And so now that he's been sentenced, it's not just only about him, but also about what he represents. The people that felt marginalized, People have felt that they will not be represented at the center. They still have that feeling. And what he represents still subsists. You know. Now look at 2023 when Peter Obi was on the ticket, as presidential candidate of the Labour Party. It wasn't only, yes, Peter Obi is popular candidate. He had credibility. He was one of the few former governors who didn't have any corruption case against him, who didn't have allegation of corruption, against him and all that. He was a decent politician who played by the rules. He was somebody who spoke, to the issues, and people saw a glimmer of hope in what he spoke about. Yes, that was there. But it wasn't about Peter Obi alone. It's about what he represented. Peter Obi is an Igbo man from the southeast. And for the time he was running, he represented that hope among the southeasterners. The hope of that finally they have somebody who stands a chance. You know, after all the back and forth of Kanu's arrest in 2015, his release in 2017, attempt to rearrest him, you know, then 2021 he was rearrested. After all of that, after the frustration people felt, people really supported Nnamdi Kanu in 2016. Even some in other regions of the country, like in the north, some felt like going to the southeast to fight for the cause. Nnamdi Kanu was quite popular then. Now he's no longer as popular as he was then in 2015, 2016. He's no longer as popular, especially after his release, subsequently his rearrest. A lot of controversies came up, after that period, they tried to arrest him and he ran away. A lot of revelation, a lot of controversies, that's sort of, brought down the hype, brought down the support that he had, Then Nnamdi Kanu had a lot of support. That there were people, prominent individuals, well-meaning individuals, that thought of going back to the south is to support that cause. But after all the disappointment that went with that, then you now have 2023, where you have a Peter Obi who represented someone who could at least, stand a chance. Somebody who stood a chance. And you could see it. That sense of maybe this time. For you to understand what that feels like, take your mind back to 2015. Try to empathize. Empathize as in just try to put yourself in the shoes of these people that I want to talk about. Put yourself in the shoes. Put yourself in the shoes of a northerner, of somebody who has been supporting Buhari for years. Buhari contested in 2003, he lost. 2007, he lost. 2011, he lost. 3 times, he cried. Said he wasn't going to run again. And then he was now convinced by Tinubu and others. He ran in 2015 and won. Think of how a northerner who has been supporting Buhari felt when Buhari won in 2015. Think of the joy they felt. Think of the happiness. Just think of the excitement. My person, my man has finally won. He has entered office. Think of that. Think of in 2023 when Tinubu won. Most of the people I know, because I talk a lot, I post a lot about politics and all that. And most of the strong supporters of Tinubu that I knew personally, those I knew personally as friends who are key supporters of Tinubu are from the West. And they spoke passionately in support of Tinubu. Now think of the Western man who supported Tinubu, who believed in Tinubu, and in 2023 Tinubu won. Think of his happiness, his joy. My man has won. There's nothing like that feeling. That feeling that your person, your brother from the same region has won. His win, his victory, it represents his region. And his region, people who supported him celebrated. Now, think of that 2023, the kind of optimism, At first, there was some skepticism about Peter Obi. And yes, the skepticism from some in the southeast persisted, right? But over time, even though it was just a couple of months, you know, the excitement increased, the enthusiasm increased. Think of their election day. Think of that young man when the votes were being counted in favor of Peter Obi. LP is of Labour Party. LP, 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 LP one, LP two, 70 something like that. Think of that excitement of that young Easterner as the votes were being counted in favor of Peter Obi. Now imagine Obi won the election. Just imagine for a moment that it was Peter Obi that won that 2023 election. Imagine the excitement that would have been in the mind, in the heart, and the body. You just think of how the Southeast would have exploded in excitement. It's not only about Peter Obi has support from different parts of the country. He had a lot of support from different parts of the country, especially from the southern part of the country. He had that support, right? But for some of those who supported Peter Obi, they are not from the southeast. Many of those who supported him are not from the southeast. And so when he lost, some who supported him and say, oh, he would have made a good president, oh, I wish he won. Some people really felt bad, that he lost. But think of the Southeasterner. It wasn't just about Peter Obi. It was about what he represented. He represented a hope for a marginalized group, for a group of people who felt that since the Civil War, they've been fighting, to have representation in the center. There is no feeling, it's just like you are supporting a football club from your area and your football club won a major tournament. There's no feeling as strong as that feeling when somebody from your region wins a presidential election. If Peter Obi had won in 2023, it would have meant a lot for Southeast. But at last, they who felt marginalized now have representation. They now have a voice. They now have somebody. There's now that belief that yes, it can happen. Because many had lost faith that no, it's not going to happen. They just imagine for a moment that it had happened. And now when Obi lost, people who supported him felt bad, that he lost at the courts and all that. But that sense of loss wasn't as strong as that felt by those from the Southeast. I'm not from the Southeast. I'm from the South. But I have friends from different parts of the country, and I had friends that are from the southeast. You know, there was this friend of mine from the southeast. I met him a few days after the election result came out when APC Tinubu was announced as the winner. You just look at his expression. There was this sadness. There was this look, despondent, sad look on him. And then when we got talking, he told me that, you know, his only um, source of succor is that he's not going to go hungry. He's a businessman. He does a lot of he does business. He sells things and all that, and you know, he has a means of livelihood. The Igbos are hard-working people. They have businesses, they have trade, they have skills. They go to school, they are educated, they are brilliant. Some of the most brilliant people in the country are from the southeast. Many brilliant people that I've interacted with all my life are from the southeast. So he said his succor, his only consolation was that he's not going to go hungry. We are not going to go hungry. We are not going to beg for food. That was his consolation. This man felt so bad that, oh, our person has lost again. You know, well, we're not going to beg for food. We're not going to go hungry. Sad disappointment. So what Peter Obi represented, that optimism, that hope that finally the people that felt marginalized, that felt sidelined, that felt they're not being represented at the presidency, that excitement went down when Peter Obi lost. And so again, I tell you, it wasn't just about Peter Obi, it's about what he represented. And if he had won, it should have been about what he represented and it had brought hope to people. So as this thing play out, I want you to take a moment and look at this. When you see people sad about the sentencing of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, please empathize with them. Put yourself in their shoes. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu represents something. It wasn't about him or who he is, what he did. He represented something. He offered people a glimmer of something, glimmer of hope. And his continued intention, that feeling that he's selective justice, that feeling that he's being victimized, that feeling that if he wasn't from this part of the country, his case would not have been treated this way. That feeling there's a hurting feeling, And so when you look at this, you must recognize what it represents. And that should be something that is key. Nnamdi Kanu